strict on quality, which is a big thing, because my image, my company image is at stake.
Yeah.
So
of course.
yeah.
Well, Corin, you should know me by now. I mean, you know that I will. If you tell me where it is, I'll get it here. You can just sit back and relax. I'll take care of it. As I always do.
Yeah, no, I know you had that, Ron. Now, if the Mandarin guy disappears, or my agent here disappears, then I'll definitely be knocking on your door. There's a problem, yeah. But when I heard he was just flying everything in and circumventing the ports, I thought,
Yeah.
okay, let's see if this works with him.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Hello, Liam.
Hi.
Hi.
What company are you from? Tell me.
I work with BMW South Africa.
Okay. That's exciting.
Big point of view in terms of exporting, importing, and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the situation as well.
What have you been doing in lockdown?
The factories are all closed and the dealerships as well at the moment. But we are hopeful that our industry might be one of the first to open. It's a low-risk environment.
Yeah.
For the most part, especially for dealerships, because it's quite spaced out. The dealership floor, and you can implement health and safety protocols.
Yeah.
Because dealerships have a lot of standards that they need to in any way abide to.
Yeah. One of my clients is a motor car dealer, and with the new relief funds that are available or coming to be available for the bigger, smaller businesses, they are quite keen to see what's available for them. So that's going to be interesting for car dealers.
It will be. But the sooner we open our doors, the better.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Hello, Dion. Hello, Nigel. Hello, Colin.
How's it going?
Good morning.
Hello, Galaxy, whoever Galaxy A70 is.
Hi.
That's Jaco.
It's like I just saw Nigel, you, Corin, Dion this morning. It's like another follow-on meeting. You guys stalking me?
Aren't you lucky, eh?
Oh.
Twice in one day.
Are you stalkable, Jaco? Are you putting yourself out there? You are stalkable.
I mean, Corin, look at me. Really.
Let's not get started. This morning was bad enough, okay?
This morning was fun.
Grinder thing was just a little bit too much.
Come on, Dion, that was funny. I mean, I can see.
I haven't laughed like that in a long time.
I mean, I can see you on there. I can see Dylan on there. I can see Ruan on there. Hey, if you guys
we will totally rock that.
I think so. I do think so.
We're not going to start this now, okay? This is not another series.
There is nothing better than being unavailable.
Yes, I agree.
That's what business owners need to realize. They must also have this sense of unavailability.
Yeah.
This illusion, But we've got a BMW dealership guy online here with us now, Dion. So maybe we can do a BMW deal of some sort, eh?
I'm all ears.
Don't even think a BMW can carry a container, so sorry about that. I can only imagine that X5 and X6 is doing the little container on the roof with a roof carrier.
Oh dear. You never know, hey?
You don't try, you don't know.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi there. How are you, Mark?
Fine, thanks, and you?
All right, thank you. Hi, Nick. You see, Jaco, we're having other people join today as well, so it's
good.
different.
I'm happy.
Sure.
I'm happy.
Where's Marion? I mean, you've already helped to save how many thousands, and she should be online soon.
Yeah, Marion is a interesting case. Was very I'm shocked at what her agents, loosely used terms, tried to do. It's horrified still.
Absolutely. I think just people just try, if you don't have knowledge, you don't know.
True.
So it's about knowing something. Once you know it, eh? That's
True.
why we try and share as much info.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's interesting because Mark, who's joining us, who's now left the room, they import fabric, which is quite nice. So I have been suggesting to him to link up with some bigger guys, because if they import more quantity, obviously their per meter will be much less. So maybe later we can have a discussion with him.
Sure, 100%. More than happy to.
Oh, by the way, I've got access to those 3-ply face masks. A grand total of about 15 million.
Just
use it, don't use it.
Where did you get it from China?
No, connect me to the right people. They in Joburg, actually.
And they imported it from China?
Yep, and it's landed and it's available.
Shall we have this conversation now about importing from China or not, Dion?
Okay.
Can I just put my 2 cents worth in here?
Sure.
I saw a post, I don't know if it was true, but they were saying that with the public, that they want to only use the fabric face masks.
The big problem at the moment, Nigel, is that we don't have enough for medical. So there's these grants available at the moment for the PPE side of things, for the medical industry. And what the minister wants is enough 3 months worth of PPE clothing and masks for the medical side of things. So that's why they're trying to install that whole using the fabric masks for consumers walking around in that. That's one of the big areas. But Karen, I'm sure we'll be able to tell you more. Yesterday, in one of the meetings that I had, what has happened is, because of all this pot of money that's available, people have applied for it, they're receiving it, and now they're making up masks. However, the level of, what do you call it, Karen?
Quality control.
Yeah, and also there's got to be criteria behind it. So there's different levels of masks.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is they're not doing it. So they're not adhering to what should be around. They're just now flooding the market with masks. So there's going to be comeback, and you're going to have, people that have invested money and time into this industry has to be really careful about what they're saying and what they're claiming the masks can do.
Yeah. It's really important to get good certification, even the surgical masks.
Yeah.
If you've got to go that route, whatever we import, just make sure you're getting the right documents and they're not forged. There's a lot of fraudulent stuff just coming through with cartons. And so you need all those balances, checks and balances in place, which the agent does for me, but and then you have a nursing standard or an occupational health standard, which just goes a step further. And so, and he's also given me a ballpark, and he's saying, if you're getting in infrared thermometers under 1,000 Rand, you're really careful. If you're going to market them above that with your markup, because there's just no way you can produce quality one, that's going to last more than 3 months under that price. And
absolutely.
It depends where you're sourcing from, but it's just his advice, because you can get them for 300-400 Rand at Chinatown, with no certification. So you just got to be really careful what you're bringing in and how you're checking it out.
And I'm sure Jaco will tell us just now, but whatever you're importing, you've got to have your documentation correct. Because and also a type of insurance that's covering your business, because people will, and especially now going forward, companies are getting stuck with the whole cash flow scenario. So people are going to try in whatever direction that they can to start gaining money back for themselves. So there's going to be more and more legal cases start happening. So you've got to be really careful on your disclaimer or what you're claiming. Anything that you're bringing in or sending out does. Hey, Jaco, am I right?
Yeah, there's obviously, the first thing I would always recommend anyone, if they want to start importing, is be VAT registered. Be VAT registered, first and foremost. Main reason is because when you do your VAT returns, you can claim that customs VAT back. If you're not VAT registered, that's a pure expense on your side, and there's no way for you actually getting that back. So you're outlaying those massive amounts of VAT, and there's no way of you actually getting it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So first things first, get VAT registered. Otherwise, it's money you're throwing away.
Yeah.
Duties,
100%.
yeah, duties. There's no way you can get duties back. Duties is an expense. But first and foremost, be VAT registered. That is key. VAT registered so you can get the VATs back. Otherwise, you're not looking after your bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so shall we start? I mean, we've already started having major discussions and we haven't even started. So let's start.
Start sharing my screen.
Perfect.
Cool.
Everybody, I don't know not everybody knows you, Jaco, so let's introduce you. You are Jaco from Titan Global, and you are going to be our guru on import-exports. Every masterclass that we do, we want everybody to ask questions. It's not serious, although it's business. Have a little bit of fun, but ask the questions that you need for your business, because by the end of the masterclass, we want everybody to have learned something new and different. So we are recording it. So if anybody wants a copy of the recording later, if there's something serious that you need to ask, obviously Jaco will share his contact details later for anybody that doesn't have them and would like to ask any further questions. Jaco, over to you. Thank you so much for today.
No problem. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. So, like I said, Diane, thank you for the introduction. So there's a couple of class norms that I like to call it. So first and foremost, I'm going to try and start and stop on time. Keep to the time limit that we've put in. This is a participation, not a debate. So please participate. If you've got a question, ask anywhere during the class. That's what I said, unmute your mics. Keep your mics unmuted, keep your cameras on. Ask questions. If you don't understand something or something's not clear, ask. Let's participate and not debate. Stay engaged. Ask as we go. You'll see at the end, there's a parking lot for any unanswered questions. So make notes. If we don't have time to get to a particular point, make a note of it and we'll come back to it at the end of the meeting, just to keep the interaction lively. Also, I'm going to ask at the end of the meeting, what's the one thing that you took away from this? What did you learn? What stood out for you at the end of it? And yeah, let's have fun. You guys will see I've got my own type of humor. I like bringing it into anything I do. It keeps the class as interactive and lively and not boring, and hopefully not putting anyone into a coma. That's the last thing I want to do, especially on a Friday. So let's start. Okay, so what would you do is exactly what is it that we do? All right, so we assist importers and exporters in moving their cargo. Sea freight, air freight, those are my key areas of specialty. Road freight, I would always outsource any of the road freight I do to road freight guys, which makes me uncompetitive because, I have to put my markup on. I would rather say go directly to the guys who have their own trucks. It's more competitive that way. When it comes to air and sea freight, I don't own my own ships. I have to go work with shipping lines. You guys, as the importers and exporters, can't go to the shipping lines directly because the shipping lines won't work with you. They can assist you, but they'll give you a rate that's completely unworkable because I carry volume. You will have one or two shipments. So that's why we're freight clearing forwarding agents. So I've been asked many times, so Jaco, how big is it? Really? I get asked this on a daily basis, how big is it? And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to tell you how big is it. I'm rather going to show you how big is it. So for those of you who want to see how big is it, this is currently planes in the sky as of last week. Well, a lot of them are grounded because of COVID-19, but that's what air freight looks like grounded. Can you imagine what this looks like once movement starts happening, when they've opened up travel and freighting and everything? As you'll see, South Africa, pretty bleak because we've stopped all international travel. But those are all the aircrafts in the sky, parked in flight mode at any given time of the day. That's how big air freight is. Now, let's show you something a little bit bigger. This is live because sea freight is still actively moving because of the time difference it takes. The spreading of this whole lovely little bug we've got is almost non-existent because containers get offloaded, crew don't depart. So this is what sea freight looks like. Those are sea freight vessels around the world. This was taken last night, live. It's a live site that we use to track any vessel around the world. All the green are your container vessels. Those are the vessels that will carry your containerized cargo, reefers and that. The red ones are your bulk vessels, grain, fuel, gas. The purple and the orange ones are your leisure crafts, chartered crafts, stuff like that, and your motor vehicle containerized vessels. So this is what it looks like currently. This is the amount of containers and ships moving around the world as of last night. So yes, it's big.
Is it more than normal or
Shipping
not?
is massive. This is pretty much, normally the Far East is a lot more congested. The Far East is normally a lot more congested than this. So far, there we see around the Far East, China. The green, if you'll see where it's written China, where that little line between Mongolia and China, those are little inland rivers. You will see green dotted all across China inland because of the little inland rivers, all the little feeder vessels moving in and out of the different ports. So this is busy, but not as busy. China is actually quiet if you look at the Far East, which is your main import hub from the world. So just to give you guys an idea, this is what I deal with on a daily basis: moving, tracking, checking. So this is what we look at when we talk about sea freight. So where do we start? Firstly, I'm going to take you through knowing your terms. Knowing your shipping terms is key when you want to start importing anywhere from the world, is knowing your terms. If you don't know what to sell or what importing terms you're going to be selling under, it's going to end up costing you a lot of money, unnecessarily money. Your general documents that you will be dealing with on a daily basis, and also your calculations, which is also key in working out what you want to send. So let's start with your terms. Quick overview. These are your Inco terms when it comes to clearing and forwarding. You'll see there's your freight collect terms, freight prepaid terms. Quick one. Freight collect means I will arrange your freight from South Africa and you pay for the freight here. Once we talk about imports, you pay for the freight here. That's freight collect. Freight prepaid means your supplier in the Far East or wherever that you import from pays the freight that side and the cargo arrives here. And the only charges you'll be liable for is the landside charges. But here's the catch. Any cargo that's freight prepaid, your agent will tell you, listen, I quote you, let's say $30 per cube if you want to import from Shanghai. Your supplier tells you, I can do for you for $10. You think, oh, well, there's a better option, cheap. Here's the kicker. By the time that cargo gets here, and Diane can vouch for this, I've just done one of her clients that she referred to me that was all of her stuff moved freight prepaid. Once the cargo lands here in South Africa, the amount of kickbacks, commissions, and referral fees between the unpack agent here and the agent in the Far East, and we're talking about groupage LCL, which I'll delve into a little bit later, where your cargo will, the cost is horrendous. There's one client that I'm busy dealing with now. If you think 1 cube, if I have to import 1 cube of cargo, which is a meter by meter by meter size, from Shanghai to Cape Town, doing it through my network and my agent base, it'll cost you between 4,000 and 5,000 Rand for 1 cube, landing excluding VATs and duties. It's not bad. This client had less than a cube, 0.2 cubes, 17,000 Rand, excluding VATs and duties. That shows you the difference between freight collect and freight prepaid. And after sitting with her, showing her this, her mind clicks. So when you want to import from the Far East or anywhere in the world, your Far East guys are more than happy to accept FOB terms, which means they are liable, your supplier in the Far East or wherever is liable for getting the cargo to my agent's warehouse, and they're responsible for all the origin costs in the country. That's FOB. You will be liable for the freight to Cape Town or Durban and then the South African landside charges, the clearing charges. That is workable. That is where I can specialize in. That's where I can work my network, my preferential fee structures that I've got to get you your best costing that you need. If something comes in under prepaid, I've got no control over the shipment. I have to accept what gets billed to me and bill it out to you. And when I have to send you an invoice of 17,000 Rand for less than a cube, I want to die, really, because your cargo is not even worth that. And now you have to pay that money out. I want to die on the inside. And any agents that just let stuff like this fly, I'm sorry, it's not right.
So Jaco, what extra costs would there be if I did FOB for a cube? What other cost? I mean, how much could the other costs add up to?
All right, so I'll go into LCL side and the workings of it. And in LCL or groupage, that is, sea freight's got two different legs. You've got either a full container where you pay for that container, you can shove as much or as little into that container as what you want, or you can go groupage if you've only got a small amount of cargo, but it's not enough to fill a container, but you want to get the benefit of sea freight. We call it LCL or groupage. That's where you pay for the space that you use inside the container. That's groupage. And you get billed per cube or per weight measure. And that is how the calculations will work out. Freight prepaid is they'll charge you, for example, to unpack the container. There's a fee to unpack a container if you're going as groupage. Unpack a container through my structures is about 480 Rand a cube. If it's 1 cube, it's 480 Rand straight. On freight prepaid, you can look anything from up to 2.5 to 3,000 Rand a cube. Look at that difference. That's cost that you've not budgeted for. So first things first, imports. Get your suppliers to go FOB. Always stick with freight collect. That's your cheapest way of controlling your costs and moving your cargo. So away from anything freight prepaid. If your supplier is trying to push freight prepaid, all you tell them is, I'll get my agent to make contact with you. Done. Do not accept freight prepaid. You will end up regretting it in the long term. Trust me, I've seen this happen. When it comes to the export side, exports, I would always suggest fly it up to airport. Fly it up the closest airport, and the consignee can take care of it on that side. If your client on that side wants the cargo to be cleared and delivered at their premises, then we're going to start looking at the DDP charges or DAP. All your destination charges will be for your account, but import duties and VAT will always be for their account, because I can't bill it to you because there's no way for you claiming it back. So if you go onto Google, I can forward this off to everyone. If you drop me in the chat, drop me your email addresses, I'll forward you through the Incoterms sheet. Have a look at it, get to know your terms. It's the first step on getting to know where you're going to save costs and how you're going to control your costs. And this is where I will advise you as well, any step of the way. You've got a supplier, what do you want to bring in, from where, and let's start talking. Before you ship anything, let us advise you from the first step so you don't step in any pitfalls. Get someone behind you to help you in the right direction. All right. A couple of standard documentation that you will always have to make use of. First is commercial invoice.
Yeah, can we just go back to that other slide again?
Sure, certainly.
You've got a whole lot of holes there with it's not blank, it's neither seller nor buyer. What happens to those costs?
Let me just get my screen here. Yeah, so that's your FCA free carrier. Those costs will normally get determined on your purchase of sale. So if this is your ocean freight and air freight. So FOB, you'll see on freight collect terms. On X Works, the buyer, which is you, will be responsible for that. Free carrier, free along port, and FOB under the ocean freight and sea freight, it will normally be for your account. Anything FOB that you ship will always be for your account on the freight collect side. So if you import freight collect, the freight will always be for your account, always.
Okay, so that should be buyer there then.
Yeah, it's buyer across the board. Anything anything freight collect on freight will always be for the buyer's account.
Okay, thank you.
All right, cool. All right. Okay. So yeah, first and foremost, a commercial invoice. That is what you will need when when I have to clear cargo through customs. It's a commercial invoice. Pro forma invoice doesn't help. I can't clear it. Customs won't accept it. Has to be a commercial invoice. A packing list. SARS needs both. A commercial invoice will show the product descriptions and everything, but with values. A packing list will show the dimension side of it. Exactly the same product. And SARS will check and see if there's any discrepancies. If your packing list, the number of pieces differs from what your commercial invoice says, SARS will kick your entry out and you can be guaranteed a stop. So this is why they're always wanting both, and I also prefer both because I will also check anything that I receive. I will double check before I submit anything into customs. Certificates of origin. Both for imports and exports, a certificate of origin is it helps to determine the actual origin of cargo. If you want to import from, let's say, Europe, a certificate of origin, but also a certificate, okay, let me rephrase this. You want to import from Europe, okay. Let's say you want to import Levi jeans. Where does Levi jeans get made? Question to the group.
China.
Yeah.
Yes. Levi's gets made in China, but the labels gets actually put on in Italy. So if you say Levi's jeans, what would be the origin of the jeans?
China.
Exactly. So that's why when you import clothing from overseas, ask them for a certificate of origin. Because because it brings me to my next certificate, anything from Europe will always be a Euro 1 certificate. A Euro 1 certificate will give you always a massive discount on any import duties that you've got. If your product carries a tariff heading that's got duties attached to it, a Euro 1 certificate will get you 0 or up to a 75% discount on any duties if it's from the European Union and countries falling under the European Union. Again, clothing. If they can't issue a Euro 1 certificate and you ask for a certificate of origin and you see the origin of this clothing is actually China, but you bring in Louis Vuitton, the origin is China. You're not going to qualify for your rebate. So be careful on when you want to import certain things. Ask for a certificate of origin and a Euro 1 certificate, because those will give you your rebate options when it comes to your import side. Any exports as well. If you want to export your cargo, clients overseas will always ask for certificate of origin. And if you export into Europe, always send a Euro 1 certificate with your export cargo, because we might have duty-free tariff heading here for our side, but in England, it might carry duties. So why not afford your client the same benefit of giving him a discount on his import duties? So again, working with agents around the world, supply Euro 1, sorry, Euro 1 documents so that your clients can import also if there's duties in that on it, get that rebate in their country.
And certificate of origin they can get from Cape Chamber.
Yes, yeah. They can get a big, nice, thick stack from Cape Chambers and they have to fill it out themselves. I can't fill it out because I don't have your authorization or signature. Unless you give me a letter of authority, I can fill it out on your behalf and also sign it on your behalf. But I need then a full letter of authority from the client itself. Same with Euro 1 certificates. That gets issued by SARS in numerical order. I can fill it out, but I need a letter of authority from you and also signing authority to fill it out on your behalf if you don't have time for it.
Does the UK still fall under Euro 1?
Sorry?
Does the UK still fall under Euro 1?
Yeah. United Kingdom, anything that's part of the European Union. So they haven't left yet. I don't think Brexit has fully left yet, but I know there was talks about them still wanting to fall under the Eurozone, so to keep the trade benefits of having the Euro certificate still with it. As I'm still exporting and importing from the UK, Euro 1 certificates are still riding with all my cargo. So until further notice, I'm still issuing Euro 1 certificates until I get a notice from SARS. But I know there was talk still that they want to keep the trade agreements they had with Europe, even though they're not part of the European Union anymore. And then your SADC certificates, lastly. SADC certificate is your Southern African Developing Countries certificates. If you export or import from Botswana, Zimbabwe, any of your SADC countries, you will get 0 duties. It's 0. It's 100% rebate on it. It's because of the development when it comes to growing the SADC region, also available from SARS. All right, so let's get to know a couple of calculations. I'm not going to make this boring. I'm going to try and make this very interesting. So air freight. What do you think would you, if you import a massive box, let's say the box is 2 meters by 2 meters by 2 meters, and the box is full of feathers, what do you think you're going to be charged on?
Box.
The box. Why the box and not the feathers?
Because they go for the greater volume.
Yes,
Or
the
weight.
volumetric weight. This is where you have to be very careful with air freight. You might say, I'm sending a little box, it weighs nothing. But if you take the volumetric weight and the actual weight's 10 kilos and your volumetric weight comes in at 30 kilos, you're going to be charged for 30 kilos. And that's where clients also get caught when it comes to courier. They say, oh, this box weighs nothing. It's like 2 kilos. Let's courier it. They take the measurements. It comes in at 15 kilos volumetric. They're going to clap you hard. Courier works out cheap up till 5 kilos, actual and volumetric. That's when courier is cheap. Anything over that, you need to start considering air freight. Courier is only good up to a certain weight bracket. So, actual versus volumetric weight in kilograms. So if you get a pen, you're going to take a photo to get the calculations. Right, so measurements will always be in centimeters. They'll always work in centimeters when it comes to air freight. It's always your length times your width times your height divided by 6,000 times the number of pieces. That'll give you your volumetric weight in kilos. If you've got 10 pieces, all the same measurements, easy. That times 10. If you've got 10 pieces at 10 different dimensions, have fun. You're going to have to sit and work out every single one of them individually, add them up to get your volumetric weight. The airlines will, when you deliver cargo, you must give me the weights in DIMS because obviously I need to quote you first. Once you accept the quote and the cargo goes to the airline will weigh and measure it themselves as well. So this is where we'll check. If you say it's 75 kilos and the airline weighs and the airline says, oh, no, this is 85 kilos actually, they'll just pull a nice little line through the air label and bill you 85 kilos. So the airlines will always double check whatever gets delivered to them to make sure it's right. Sea freight works on a per weight measure bracket, which is, it works in how many cubes your cargo takes up. Now, measurements will always be in meters because we're talking about cubic meters here. Same thing, length times the width times the height times the number of pieces. That is how you work out your cubage. So, but always remember, it has to be in meters. So if it's 265 centimeters, it's 2.65 meters. So with sea freight, you will always work at 3.56 cubes or 2.65 cubes, and that's how you get billed. One freight ton equals 1 cube. That's how they work. So 1 cube equals 1 ton. And you'll see that a little bit later on as I carry on. That's, keep in mind, you might say my cargo is 1 cube, but it weighs 2 tons. They will charge you on the 2 tons. And it won't be 1 cube, it'll be 2 cubes per freight ton. Keep that in mind. You might say, oh, pallet, it's 1 cube, oh, but it weighs 1.5 tons. They will charge you 1.5 as a cubage. Remember that. Keep that in mind when you work out your stuff to see where you sit. And I'll also, when you ask me to quote, I will ask for that and I'll quote you according to what the actual weights and measures are. Right, let's talk about air freight. Right, so when will we fly things in? Firstly, air freight is good, it's quick. It's timeless. Flights leave on the hourly basis within South Africa. If you've got international flights, it leaves every day, twice a day. It's quick, it's timeless. It's got a massive global reach. Anywhere that's got an airport, you can get cargo to. If it's not a customs airport, there'll be chartered aircrafts flying in and out of the country. So if you've got a small little island with a single landing strip in Alaska, we'll fly to the closest customs airport and charter aircrafts there to get the cargo to your closest airport. But air freight's got a global reach. Very accurate shipping. If they say the flight will leave today, your flight will probably leave today. Only time it might change if there's an increase in passenger baggage, they'll offload you or anything like that, but it's quite accurate. If we say 2 to 3 days, it'll be 2 to 3 days. It's very accurate dates, and you can plan your supply chain a lot easier when it comes to air freight, because you can't guarantee when stuff will arrive here or arrive there. Is this massive increase in safety of goods on air freight. It goes through about 3 or 4 different checkpoints before it gets actually loaded onto the aircraft. The agents that will handle it will check it in their warehouse. From there, it'll go to the airline, where it'll be x-rayed again and also double checked. Goes into storage or into the warehouse inside. Once the flight is ready to leave, they'll take it out, x-ray it again, and take it off to the aircraft, where they'll inspect the cargo again. So your quality and safety of your goods is a lot more stringent on air freight, because, like I said, anything can happen up in the air. And then to make sure that anything that's in there can't jeopardize the passenger's safety at 50,000 feet up in the air. The cons, it's expensive. Straight off the bat, you pay for what you get. If you're gonna fly things, you're gonna pay. Currently, because of lockdown, there's 2 airlines flying in and out of South Africa, Qatar and Emirates. Normally, I did a quote for a client yesterday. Normally, I would fly cargo from Joburg to Toronto at about $2.60 a kilo. Perfect. Current flying rate is $16 a kilo. Supply and demand. Air freight is expensive. Remember that. You pay, it's costly. Fly things when you've got high value cargo, then fly it. If something's urgent and you can't wait, but the value is not great, remember, you fly it in, but you're going to pay for it. There's always size and weight limitations to because remember, big freighters fly mainly out of Joburg. All your other aircrafts, they're cargo aircrafts, but they're more passenger aircrafts. So the doors of the passenger holds is always a limitation. Your biggest dims that you can get into a normal Airbus and those ones is about 320 by 220 by 120 size. And they won't allow you more than 500 kilos per piece. So there's always limitations. If you can fly to Mauritius, 80 by 80 by 80, nothing bigger than that. It's a small aircraft. So depending on the wide body or narrow body aircraft, depending on what cargo you can fly in there. So there's always limitations when it comes to the size and weights of your aircraft. Then inclement weather causes. Yes, weather in air freight, airplanes will always can land through rain and that. The only time when they can't actually cause a bit of delay when there's snow or massive tornadoes. Otherwise, they come and go. We've all taken off from Cape Town International Airport through a massive thunderstorm. Planes take off. So it's not as much caused, but the inclement weather is mainly for snow in your snowy countries. Right, when to air freight cargo? You ask yourself, how quickly do you need to get your goods moved? Perishables, fresh food like lobsters and stuff, fresh fish, always get air freighted. Short shelf life, so has to get there as quickly as possible. Anything fresh or live. Live animals, like if you relocate overseas, your dogs, your cats, fly it. I'm not going to put it in a container, I'm sorry, with your household items. So put it in an aircraft. How quickly do you need the stuff there? Ask yourself that. How important is that your cargo reaches its destination in time? If you've got cutoffs and very, very time constraints, fly it, but remember, it's going to cost you. And how much money are you willing to spend on your transport of your goods? Those are the things. That's when you fly air freight. Air freight is good when it's like small items that's high value, like I would say, like precious stones, gold, stuff like that. Fly it. Safer, and it's high volume, high value. Couple of interesting things. You'd be surprised on the type of stuff you can actually put on an aircraft. When you go on holiday, you don't know what goes in the cargo holds. That's what I love these types of stories. It's telling clients, and they look at you fascinated. Human remains. Did you know that you're going on a holiday overseas, but there's about 3 or 4 coffins inside your cargo hold? You don't know that. It gets loaded even before you get onto the plane. You don't even see this. I've flown cyanide on a passenger aircraft, on an Air Mauritius flight. Cyanide. Live ammunition. Stuff like that gets air freighted. So think about that. When you think about cargo, you think, oh, cups, saucers, nitty-gritty things. But remember, there is other stuff. Radioactive waste must be air freighted, can't be sea freighted. Anything that's radioactive must be air freighted because of the checks and the balances and everything in it.
Jaco, we're already scared about traveling and now you're adding to it.
It's just fascinating stories. Air freight is for your more dangerous stuff that can't be sea freighted. So that's more considered hazardous for the ocean. They value ocean life over human life. I know, it's strange. Anyway, and then how valuable is your cargo? Like I said, all right. Air freight documentation. Your standard docs, commercial invoice, packing list, certificate of origin, Euro 1, and your SADC certificates. Standard documentation. You'll also come across the following. Your master air label, that's your master carrier document the airlines will work off, and a house air label. The difference between the two is master air label will be from if you need your cargo to be cleared and delivered if you export to England, it has to be delivered to Stoke-on-Trent. So I will consign your cargo from me as an agent to my agent there, so they've got control of the cargo to clear and deliver it to your client. The house air label will have your details on for customs, you as a shipper and your consignee. So depending on what your terms of your sale is whether you will have a house or master air label. Manifest.
Can I just cut in here? Sorry, I'm a
Yes.
little bit late. The Euro 1 is not for all countries. It's just some Euro countries.
Yes,
Okay.
it's all countries as part of the Eurozone. That's got the
Okay.
Eurozone agreement. Your manifest, which is if you've got a master air label, you'll have a manifest. This is what the manifest is what SARS uses to know what cargo is coming in and out and pre-stop cargo before it lands. This is what they will use as well to check as a manifest. You're in your SAD 500, which is your customs documentation and your customs release. Those are the documentations you will always have to deal with and will see when it comes to your air freight side. Right. Sea
Jaco,
freight.
just on that,
Yes.
sorry, just on the documentation, is this something that you go to an office and somebody just works through all of this for you, or do you have to
Yes.
go from one queue like Home Affairs to SARS and backwards and forwards, and how quick and slick is the process?
Well, with air freight, we've got about a 3 to 4 hour turnaround. This is what we as freight agents do, as clean forward agents. We do all of this. The standard documentation is what we will need from you, because I will need the commercial invoice and packing list and that to quote you on your shipment.
Yeah.
The rest of the documentation is what I will provide you that I have to give. I have to capture the air label. I have to do the manifest. I have to do the SAD 500, the release. This is the stuff that I do. And on air freight, my time limit is much shorter because of the frequency of flights leaving. A lot of airlines will say, I've got your flight's leaving tomorrow, but we have to hand in your cargo today. So time is always the essence with me. So when it comes to air freight, and this is what we do. We will take care of the documentation for you. You don't have to do anything. You give me your cargo, you give me your standard documents, and I'll take care of the rest. That's what we do, agents.
If it's a HAS cargo, then we as the client provide you with the dangerous goods declarations. I'm right. With
Yes,
with the MSDS.
Yes. The airlines will always ask you for the MSDS or the material safety data sheet when it comes to hazardous cargo. Hazardous cargo, like I said, is a whole different ball game. I'll probably get onto that in the next session, talking a little bit about hazardous side. This is just a quick little introduction on that, but hazard is a whole different ball game, different rules, the different regulations. All right, sea freight. So again, sea freight, this is now where things get very interesting. So when do you sea freight? There is plenty of space. There's lots of room on a ship that you can stack containers on, pump the holes full, as much as what you want. So sea freight is got heavy stuff, anything you can think of, sea freighted. Maritime shipping is highly affordable. This is if you want to save costs and look at costs. Maritime is your best option. Yes, we'll get to the cons now. And vessels, sea freight vessels are more eco-friendly. They take there's now environmental fuel levies, environmental levies to make them more eco-friendly. Air freight, yes, you're going to destroy the environment. If you green inclined, don't air freight, sea freight. All right, cons. Sea freight is slow. Let's just put that right to the rest. Sea freight is very slow. On average, importing from Shanghai to Cape Town, looking about between 23 and 25 days, average. Export from Durban to the US, you're looking at about, what, 45 to 50 days. Sea freight is slow. So if time is of an essence, don't sea freight it. Then you have to weigh up. What is more important, cost or getting your client stuff there on time? Weigh it up. Ocean freight services can suffer from delays, as what we've seen. The wind picks up over 35 kilometers an hour in Cape Town, port's closed, done. Vessels don't berth, containers don't offload, congestion, delays, and so forth. One crane breaks in Durban, slows operations down by up to 3 days. So yes, ocean freight suffers any low currents, high tides, high winds, storms, ocean freight suffers. So yes, it's got a lot more sufferability when it comes to the weather, much more dependent on weather. And also the lack of infrastructure. Not every single port in the world is a container vessel port. You might think Seychelles. Yeah, Seychelles is an island. They've got, they've got a dock there. We can send a container there. Unfortunately not. Seychelles is not a port. They're a feeder vessel. So all cargo will go to Port Louis. Port Louis will feed it on to Mahé and Seychelles on smaller tugboats, little feeder vessels. Your big ocean liners will never fit in there. They'll probably destroy the country before they get in there. The berthing is too shallow. That's why you will see South Africa's got 3 main ports: Durban, Cape Town, and Port Elizabeth. Now, Richards Bay and Saldanha are your dry ports. That's where they do your vehicles, your grains, your oils, your petroleum. That's what they are. Your container vessels, your bigger container vessels are normally Cape Town and Durban. PE can take it, but the draft in the berthing slots are very shallow. At most, I think they can take a vessel that carries 200 containers at most, nothing more than that. Cape Town and Durban can take 1,000, 5,000 container vessels. So they've got the bigger draft they can take, which means the busiest ports, which means more congestion. All right, full container loads. Let's quickly run through this. So these are your standard containers when it comes to full containers, FCLs as we call it. You get your 20-foot and your 40-foot containers, your reefer containers. So that's your container with a refrigeration unit. Dion, if you want to build a container with a reefer container, built-in aircon. Open top containers, that is for if you've got cargo like big machinery that can't fit into a container because it's too high. That's when open top will come in. You can obviously, it's got a top. They'll load it in from the top side down into the container and put the top over. But you will pay out of gauge. Out of gauge in short means every millimeter that your cargo sticks out above or on the sides of a container, you'll get billed for. Every millimeter. So, and that's also what your flat racks are. If your cargo is very wide, long, and high, but you have to ocean freight it. Flat rack is the base of the container. This is a little bit more specialized, where you have to get specialized rigging in place to come in, rig it, get the center of gravity, balance the cargo on the container, lash and strap it down with chains, get the measurements, and apply for road permits because it's now out of gauge. Far. Again, something that we do, eyes closed, no problem. But every millimeter that you are out, you will be billed for. Not centimeter, millimeter. That's why it's so important that I receive, if you've got massive machinery that has to go ocean freight, I need the full mechanical and diagram specs of it. I need to say exactly how wide is it. So I can work out the center of gravity in the container and how many millimeters on each side is going to stick out, because you will be billed for it. And the shipping lines won't quote me on it unless I can give them that as well. So again, there's always a way of moving it. And then your high cube containers is a normal 40-foot, just with a little bit of a higher roof. So you can get a little bit higher in. If you look at the height, height of a 40-foot high cube, 2.69 meters high, and a normal 40 foot is 2.5. So a little bit higher, a little bit more room, but again, if it's too big, you can't get it in. Open tops or flat tracks, but again, you will pay a lot. I know I've done this exercise with Dion and his container homes, where I will always ask him, I need to know exactly how many millimeters anything sticks out. Because you would think a container home can ship as is, like that on the ship. Not really. We have to use a flat rack because it's you can't pack anything on top of the container home, because the integrity of the walls and everything has changed because it's not solid anymore. If you stack another empty container, a 40-foot container weighs on its own about 4 tons. If you put that on top of one of Dion's container homes, it's not going to be enough left because the wall's integrity can't take that. That's why it has to go on a flat rack. So the base of the container, and we'll put that container home on it. And that's how it will ship. But any millimeter sticks out because you can't put another container next to it because the windows might stick out a bit and you'll chop the windows off. Again, specs and weights and dimensions are critical on anything that goes on a flat rack or open top, because if they can't pack anything on top of it or on the sides of it, the shipping lines will charge you for every slot they lose. That's why it's so important. Right, loose container loads, LCL. If you don't have enough cargo to fill a container, this is where groupage comes in. You want to have the benefits of sea freight, but you can't fill up a container. You'll pay for every cube that you use. So LCL is where we'll make use of consolidators. It's great for moving cargo via sea freight to reduce costs. And remember, you pay per weight measure. 1 cube equals 1 ton. Per weight measure is also called as per freight ton. So 1 cube equals 1 ton. If your cargo weighs 2 tons and you've got 1 cube of cargo, you'll be charged for the 2 because your weight is greater. In turn, if your cargo weighs 500 kilos, but you're at 2.3 cubes, you'll be charged at the 2.3. Again, whichever is the greatest. There's a minimum charge of 1 cube. That's why I tell clients, when you want to start importing from the Far East, if you've got 0.2 cubes or 0.9 cubes, you will be charged a minimum of 1. Minimum, regardless of where you import from. If you look at your cargo, try and buy more if you want to get the benefits of sea freight to fill up a cube to make it more viable for yourself. Because in either fact, you'll pay a minimum of 1 cube, regardless. Sea freight documentation, your normal documents that you will always make use of. You'll get a master bill of lading and a house bill of lading. Quick little difference between air freight and sea freight. If your master airway bill that you print out and you get for your cargo, if that gets lost, you can reprint one, no worries. If your master bill of lading gets lost, your life is over. The shipping lines will not reprint you one unless you sign a guarantee with them of 300% of the value of the cargo over to them. That they keep 300% value of the cargo that they keep in their bank account for 2 years.
So you don't get that money back ever?
Only after 2 years.
Oh, no, sure.
So that's why when it comes to sea freight, I will always try to instruct clients, if you want to go original bill of ladings, I don't like it, because you give it to a courier company and they courier it and they lose it. Because you can't insure a bill of lading. You can't take insurance on the bill of lading because it's a document. If I give it to you in your hands and you go home and you lose the documents along the way, I can't just reprint it. It's an original set of 3 documents. If all 3 don't arrive at the destination at the same time, you can't get your cargo on that side. Or you can't get your cargo, your client can't get the cargo. All 3 original copies has to be there present. Otherwise, you can't get your cargo. I will always instruct clients, if you want to do a sea freight, do telex releases, which is basically an electronic release. The original bill of lading stays with the shipping line. When your client pays you, I will instruct the shipping line to telex the bill. They'll send an electronic message to you wherever and release the bill of lading against that, if you're worried about payment. But original bills is great for if you want to hold back the release of the cargo if you haven't received your payment yet. That's original bills. But don't courier it off. Telex release it. Telex release has taken a little bit more of a newer word term now these days. We call them sea labels. It's like a paperless document from the shipping line saying, all good, you've been paid, we've been paid, here's the document, scan, sign, copy, they can release a cargo against it. A lot of countries, especially when it comes to LCs, letter of credits, demand original bill of ladings. That is when I instruct my clients, that bill of lading is worth more than your wife and kids. Really. That document is worth more than anything, because if that thing gets lost, none of us has got 300% of the value of the cargo to pay. You'll close your business. That document you protect with your life. And I will always instruct you to go to the shipping line yourself to go and fetch it, because I don't want to carry that risk. Because anything happens to me, an accident, that its original bill of lading is far too risky. I'll always say do sea labels, but your African countries, when it comes to LCs like Nigeria, Ghana, and those ones, they will, if they do a letter of credit, which is a guarantee from their bank to your bank, they will always instruct you to have an original bill of lading. Try and negotiate to see if you can do at least a telex or a sea label upon payment. Also, the manifests, and then your SAD 500 and your customs releases. So that is your documentation that you need for sea freight. So this is just a quick overview of the way things work. The documentation is what we take care of. I will get the instructions, I'll issue the instructions, I'll put the entry through customs, get release. That's what we do in the backside. So I want to say we've got about 10 minutes so we could do some Q&A. So, right. Any questions that you guys put in the parking lot? That you guys want to know more?
There's always more to know with import-export.
Yes, so ask away.
Just a quick question. Jaco, you were saying earlier that we should register for VAT if we're going to be doing importing and exporting. But at this stage, look, I'm just going to use me as an example here with the e-bikes. It's small volumes. And with VAT, surely you have to be doing over a certain amount before you have to register. You can register.
You don't have to. I mean, okay, when it comes to, if you're going to start importing, you don't have to turn over, because remember, if you import, you're going to need to claim that VAT back. So regardless of what amount you turn over, you don't want to outlay that VAT and not be able to get it back. So even if you don't turn over that much, yeah, I would say always say register for VAT. Always register for VAT.
Remember, Nigel, you can do it voluntary. You can register for voluntary VAT.
Yeah.
So if you're not turning over the R1 million or whatever, it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, you want to get that 15% back.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, you can self-register for VAT, but claim that back. If you claim that VAT back, it helps at your costing at the end of the day. You are able to save money, unless it's a pure outlay, pure expense, and you've got no way of getting it back. Look at your bottom line. Look at money that you can get back through VAT returns. Duties, the pure expense, you can't claim that back.
Okay, thanks for that. Thanks, Di.
Okay,
Right.
pick me now.
Yes, Mr. Van Diemen.
Okay, here's the situation. It's a client from the Netherlands. They are moving to Ghana. They want 2 container homes shipped to Ghana. Now, obviously, they are private clients. They know nothing about imports or exports, and especially not to Ghana. They don't know what the duties are, etc., etc. How do I, or what is or how can we assist them with the import duties and the clearing and everything on the Ghana side? And
Right.
how does the money work? Because the money is coming from the Netherlands and the export's going to Ghana.
Okay. So the payment can come from anywhere. Is it the Netherlands company that's purchasing it, but the delivery is something else?
Nope, private people. They are moving to Ghana.
Okay. If they're relocating, it's still fine. The payment can come from anywhere. That's not a problem. Getting it, okay, I've got an agent network. So if they need clearance and delivery done or information in Ghana, I can get my agents to do the field work there. So they need to tell me where the actual plot is. I need to send people out there to have a look at the plot, see the rigging and everything else, see what they're going to be doing. Are we just going to plonk it down anywhere, and who's going to do the installation on that side for the sewage and all that? So it's going to be a little bit more, I wouldn't say labor intensive, but just a little bit more homework that needs to be done. But I would need to know where's the delivery address in Ghana, to send my agents there to see or talk to the people that's going to be doing the installation on that side.
Look, the whole thing is with what we're busy with at the moment. Now it's just a question. It's a costing exercise with regards to making it here, putting it on a ship, getting it there, taking it off. They don't have the plot yet, so they can't costing exercise that says, okay, cool, they've got like a 15% GST or VAT, and there's like a 5% import duties, etc., etc. They don't have clearing agents on that side, so they don't know where to go. So they're looking at me for assistance on that.
So I can quote up to port or up to the nearest place of delivery. So I can give you all the costs up to the port.
Okay. Is that now including their duties and taxes?
Clearance and delivery, I have to ask my agents for that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Because then the terms will be different there. That's like a DDP then, eh?
It'll be the DDU.
DDU.
Yeah. Right. Anyone else? Anything else?
Sorry. Also, a different client that is wanting to move to New Zealand, and then there's another client that's wanting to do regular exports to Australia.
Yeah.
The person moving to New Zealand, they currently live in South Africa. They're moving to New Zealand. They're going to pay from South Africa. Do they then get the benefit of the VAT to export the unit to New Zealand, or because all the whole transaction is happening? Yeah.
Okay.
That's a sticky one. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I need to obviously check. I need to check in New Zealand I think what their import regulations are. But I mean, as far as moving anything, if they relocating, moving the personal effects out. I mean, if they're buying a container home, you send a container home that side for them, we'll just shove all the personal effects in there as well.
Yeah, exactly, and that then qualifies as a personal effect. It does not qualify. It's not subject to duties and taxations.
Well, the household content won't, but I need to check on the container home itself.
Yeah, yeah.
If that will carry. But as for the household content,
okay,
it
cool.
won't.
All right.
Personal household effect.
Cool. Okay, and last one, the customer in Australia. They wanting to do a regular export and resell it on that side. Actually, I don't any stations on that.
I would charge you that for on my side for any of the local land side stuff as well.
But to qualify, I prove.
Not. I'll show you. You can actually prove that it's going out.
Okay, cool. All right, because that's what an issue. Yeah, sorry. I had a previous export problems where I had to prove incoming funds to be able to export.
Okay, so I've got a client that also they manufacture locally, they produce locally, but the cargo gets sent out to another country overseas. There's still no VAT because you will never get a VAT invoice from me. And if you bill someone locally for it, then you have to charge VAT. But if you bill someone internationally for it, you don't charge VAT.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
But,
because that client actually had an account in South Africa, a private account, and they paid the money from their private account in South Africa, but then they exported it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure where the VAT situation, because it's paid from South Africa, from a South African account, do I have to charge them that?
Well, yeah, you'll still charge them VAT. You won't be out of pocket because you won't receive a VAT invoice from me because freight and all those things will always be zero VATed. So you'll never get a VAT invoice from me, but they will pay the VAT over to you. So when you do a VAT returns, you've got the VAT portion from them. They just won't be able to claim it back.
Okay, cool.
So does it actually, affect you tremendously?
No, it's just with my billing. I wasn't sure on that.
Yeah, sure. All right.
Jaco, for Mark and Banele that's on, if they import fabric, is it best for them to bring it by ship or air?
Well, that's the thing is, it all depends how quickly they need it. How urgent, okay, where's it coming from?
Mark, where does your fabric normally come from?
From?
For now, we source locally. But as we're growing, that's why we attend this course and getting to know how import and export actually works. Then we will identify the best supply. Obviously, probably China will be in terms of price, but for now, we're just going to stick to local. We're just getting our heads around the whole export and import.
So I would say if you want to bring in fabric in that, I would say you can you can sea freight it in. Fabric is great if you want to sea freight it in because you control your cost. But always remember, on sea freight you'll have a minimum of 1 cube. So regardless of the amount that you want to bring in, if you maximize on the space that they give you, that you will be charged on. So always 1 cube is a meter by meter by meter squared. That's 1 cube that they will charge you on. So as much fabric, if you take a crate that's 2 meters by a meter and you want to pack that crate full of fabric, do it because they'll charge you for that side of that crate. And that is where I can do, if you start giving me information, I can start doing that homework for you. And so, right, where's the supplier? Terms, FOB, great. Work out your dimensions, work out this. So, right, your whole shipment to get it from FOB Shanghai to your door is going to cost you this. There you go. And you'll end up seeing it'll be a lot cheaper than buying locally the fabric because the local guys have already imported it and put their markup on. So you're already paying their markup, where if you get it at a better cost, you get it at their cost and you can put your own markup on, and you can also start playing the market a little bit harder.
Awesome. Thanks.
Cool.
Karen, don't you want to share your details with Liam? He's mentioned in the chat box here that they need to implement measures in the dealership for face masks and stuff. So maybe you can have a chat with him later about that whole health scenario.
I've sent him my email address privately.
Okay.
Okay.
Fantastic. Any other questions? We're on midday now, so we are exactly on time. Anybody else got questions? I know that Hetty has left, but obviously her exports would be via air, I would presume, so it's high value. Okay.
Yes. All right. Well,
So
everyone,
Jaco,
thank you very much.
Just a quick question. Obviously, we see the pros of going by air. What is the ratio and cost was? Is it sort of double to go by air, or what would be the inflated cost of going by air?
Well,
generally,
okay,
just
it's hard because it all depends on which country you're going to, which airline you're going to fly with. There's a lot of more different variables. Like, for example, if you say you want to send something to, let's say, Port Louis, Mauritius. There's one shipping line that goes there, which is MSC. So I know I can only use MSC for anything that goes to Port Louis.
Yeah.
But if you're going to tell me that you want to fly something to Port Louis, I've got 3 different airlines.
Yeah.
Each of them has got different rates, different weight structures, different limitations. So I need to know exactly right. Am I going to fly with SAA? Am I going to fly with SA Airlink, or am I going to fly with Air Mauritius? So again, I need to know these things so I can give you a cost, because air freight is all depending on where you want to go, how much it is you want to send, and how quickly you want to get it there. I can send something to you that goes via at a fraction of the price. But again, you're going to wait 6 or 7 days.
Yeah.
Because I'll connect from this airport to that airport to that airport to that airport to that airport. But also, the more it connects, the higher the risk is that something gets lost along the way.
And good luck with SAA.
Well, I've also just heard that Air Mauritius is in liquidation. that right?
I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen any notice yet from IATA yet. But like I said, air freight has been very quiet because we haven't been flying anything because everything is grounded. At the moment, air freight, I think the only two airlines that I'm actually still dealing with is Emirates and Qatar. Because
And
they're
what
still
happened
flying.
to Ethiopian Airlines? They were flying in quite a bit.
Yeah, but
Ethiopian
ET, they still fly, but obviously with the travel ban, they're not flying to South Africa yet.
Oh, they're
So,
not. Okay.
yeah,
All right.
a lot of airlines have been stopped flying in and out of the country. Only two airlines still fly in and out of South Africa. Etihad and Qatar. Those are the ones.
Marion, are you cool? Do you want to ask any questions? Because I know that you had some a little while ago. Are you all sorted?
Jaco's been amazing, trying to help me with my disaster, and just because I'm an idiot.
You're not an idiot, just you weren't informed properly.
Or idiot. But yeah, I think I'm on the right side of it, although it is going to cost me a lot more than it needed to, but we're getting there.
Okay, cool. Benele, that's online, Marion, as well. He's also in clothing manufacturing. So I don't know if the two of you want to share your details with one another, because maybe in the future, as both of you grow, there might be a possibility to bring in bulk fabric together if there was a link between the two of you.
Yeah, thanks, Diane.
Sure.
Can I ask, Karen, what do you do? Because Diane's asking me to share my details with you, and I'm not sure what.
Okay, I'm in occupational health management, but it's swung very much towards Corona type PPE retail, finding retail, finding masks and gloves and fever guns and getting that in bulk to clients.
Okay, great. I'd love to chat because we're making masks, and I'm wanting to make like scrubs and stuff, but obviously I don't know where to sell it.
Okay, markets. Okay, all right. So you're doing the cloth masks. The local. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Marion actually started with before everybody else. She started with the shwe designs, which was it's obviously
shwe,
specific to South Africa. So we also had a conversation about this the other day with Marion, because she was asking about the rand, how much do you sell with the rand value side of it. So there's a lot of really, really cheap masks around that are absolutely awful. And what Marion has done is she's linked like a marketing campaign to her products, where if you buy one of hers, she then donates one, which is quite an awesome idea, and therefore you don't have to charge like bottom of the row costings as well. So it's a different way of looking at things.
Marketing thingy that I saw this morning is one day only. And I saw them putting the cloth masks on there, and it is going like crazy. They're pretty much sold out already.
I think the problem is nobody knows where
one day only and stuff like that.
Yeah, nobody knows where to buy from. So they're looking at the bigger guys that they would normally purchase from. So I think that anybody needs to get, or if you're doing masks, no matter what it is, you need to get out there.
Yeah, we're actually.
It's also, I think the big challenge at the moment is price point, because I've costed my masks as a normal product, as I do a costing on any garment, and I've done the price like that, and mine are way more than any others I've seen. And so now I'm not quite sure whether I should drop the price or whatever. Plus, with donating one, sorry, there's someone talking. With donating one, I've got to add the cost price of that free one onto my costing. So mine are actually more expensive. And I reached out to a group that I'm on, and I asked for inputs, and they all said, keep your price as it is. I'm not actually even managing to keep up with demand, because we're all working remotely, and it's a bit like working through soup, because you're trying to get stuff done. So I don't know, but there are people selling them for like 30 Rand, and mine are 180 Rand. So I don't know, I don't know the answers to these things.
30 Rand ones look like crap.
Recording, sorry, can I just say
just
something?
Mentioning that.
I've got an opportunity funny enough, the people that supply me my bikes from China, they've also started making the masks, but I kind of been pushing it aside because I feel that everyone is doing the same as what I'm doing. Am I being silly? I mean, is there such a big demand?
So there's at the moment, from the government point of view, they are spending or have a lot of money available for PPE. Okay, so if you have anything on the PPE side, obviously South Africa was not ready for the virus, although the measures that have been put in place has been great. They're looking at building stock, but for PPE in the medical profession for the next 3 months. That's what they're busy doing at the moment. So because of that, there's this huge runaround currently, but for the medical graded masks. And because of the precautions that they're putting in place going forward and the different levels that we're going to go through as a country, the next level is if you're in public transport or if you're in shops or whatever, you have to wear a mask. So yes, there's a huge demand for it.
Yeah, because I know that the masks that are available have got all the certification, and I think it's a pretty high grade. So who would I speak to regarding that then, Di?
So you need to go and register as an essential service. And then there is on IDC, or there's another one. Hang on, let me just give me 1 second and I'll tell you now.
Thank you.
NEF. If you go onto their website, they are the ones that are putting out money for this, specifically for the PPE. But yeah,
sorry, what was the name?
NEF. And also go look at tenders. Tenders are huge at the moment for PPE.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Marion, NEF is the National Empowerment Fund, I think it's called. So they have that's one of the areas that we can get funding from. There's obviously criteria behind it. I think if I'm not mistaken, it's 500 to 10 million rand. But it's specifically for essential services like the PPE, medical beds, food. I know that at one stage they were looking at tourism. I put in an order, application yesterday for 10 million from a company for tourism. I'm not sure if they're going to get it, so we can only see. And ICT was the other one that they were also prepared to fund. So there is the application. It's a loan, but it's a 0% loan for the 12 months. But remember, part of what they're doing is depending on what it is that you've got to offer and whether you have been a manufacturer before and all those kind of things, they are prepared to look at each case individually for grants. So a lot of the loans that are out there, they will look from a grant point of view as well, depending on how many people you employ, how many people will stay, etc. You know, the norm behind it.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Anything else, anybody?
No, thank you. That's fine.
Are we all done? Fantastic.
Yes,
Diane,
yes.
just from the Zoom practicality point, this chat line that grows and grows with details and things, do you lose that once you leave the meeting, or can you reference it back to it?
I'm not 100% sure if it stays in the recording, but I will go and check and let you know.
Okay, and I'm just saying, you know, everybody puts valuable contact names and numbers and that, and if you're not scribbling them down, it'd be nice if we could go back and reference that Zoom meeting where I met that person. What was their number?
Sure, I think I've taken most of the people. I've got most of them, but the people that I didn't have is on. I have, so I'll send one email out to everybody, and everybody can link up with whoever they.
Like that. That's helpful. Yeah.
I think it's the easiest. If I haven't got your email, then you best send it to me. But attendance,
sort of register thing with contacts.
Yeah, I think it's important. We all need to start working together, and the more of these kind of forums you'll start seeing, the more you'll be able to start networking with one another.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say to Marion, you were saying about masks and costing and that. So what I'm beginning to see, you know, where you've got this rush for, I mean, and I think it's a small window, you know, now that we're undoing lockdown, people are really rushing in, and there's a lot of price hiking and some price gouging and things like that. But the thing is, you know, in all this PPE type stuff, you're only going to start making money on volume. You know, if you're doing 20 or 50, you're going to probably break even and maybe cover your costs. But you want to make a decent profit for the amount of effort you're putting in. So you got to start looking at markets of, you know, selling and looking for markets that want like a minimum of 500, and you know, maybe depending on the item, but on something like masks, I would go for big numbers. You know, if you're looking for fever guns, I'd probably say a minimum of 20 or 50, because they're a lot more expensive. But you can't go a little piecemeal, you know, for places for small, you know, private people and that type of thing. You're just really not going to make money for the effort that you're putting in.
Totally. Well, I mean, so we're currently doing it on my online store, and we've been busy. I mean, my staff are on half time, so my assistant's working from home half a day, and she can't pack all our orders in half a day. And it sounds piecemeal, but it's certainly adding up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, if I could get an order of 500 or 1,000, I would totally negotiate my margin. If I'm selling 5 or 1 or 2, then my expensive price I'm quite fine with. My masks are quite different to any other local I've seen, because they contain a wire that goes all the way over the top of the mask, so you can mold it here. It doesn't have this gap, which they say is. I actually read an article the other day where they advise you to wear a stocking.
Doesn't sound too pretty.
I'm like, oh my God, now we look like grandfathers. And mine have a wire, like a surgical mask. You know, they have that little wire you can push here.
Yeah.
Mine have
that.
So it is an added feature, which I'm very happy that we developed. But yeah, they are bloody expensive. I mean, I'm looking at these gorgeous masks coming out of some other small designers for much cheaper, but they're not donating. I don't know. I'm in a bit of a conundrum about the price.
Just remember your brand, Marion. I mean, everything comes back to brand. There is going to be life after COVID, after lockdown is finished. And what is it that your brand represents? So if your brand, if that's the level that your brand is, then keep it to that level. You know, you started it so that you could pay your staff. You know, it's nice to make a little bit of extra money, but just remember why you started it. And at some point it's going to stop. And then you're going to go back to the way, or what your new normal is going to be, whatever that is. And that's possibly going to be a change. And I mean, as you know, what you're doing, what you're going through at the moment in your business, there could be a lot of changes happening. So you've got to think about, when you step out, what is it that you really want to have represented?
Thank you, Diane.
We often tend to get into a scenario where we chase the price point, but it's a value add that you're doing. So rather add value than chase price points. There will always be the group of people that will be chasing price points. However, yours has got a value added feature to it, and you're donating a mask. So to drop yourself down to fight with the 35 Rand ones, it's going to defeat the object.
Yes, and a few people have said to me, why don't you make it an option to donate one? So I can buy it for much cheaper, and then I'll buy one to donate. And I said, because I've donated 500 masks to farmers, and I like that.
Yeah.
And if I give you the option, I guarantee you're not going to donate. If you buy 10, you're not going to donate 10. You're going to buy 10 and donate 1.
Yeah.
But I've donated 1 for every one I've sold. And I just take these massive things and like give them to these farming communities, and it's kiff. I like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to do that. Oh yeah, you've got an option to donate. Human beings don't donate.
No.
Absolutely.
Everybody good, but
feel good.
Yeah, 100%. And also remember, that's what your values are. So don't change values the way that, because you're working now to try and differentiate price points. You've already differentiated yourself from the market. You're already making them. If you were only selling 1, then you know, stick with the one kind of thing.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your advice.
Yeah, thanks, Diane.
Okay.
Nice information.
Pleasure,
Thanks.
everybody.
Bye.
We'll see you next Friday. Bye now.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.